Welcome to Toronto Talk Sports and More, episode number 3, Sunday, April 22nd. It's Zion Hezekiah, a.k.a. your boy Hez, joined by my co-host, Milan, Sonegra, a.k.a. Milo. What's going on, big guy?
What's up, Toronto? How are you?
Yeah. Now, Milo, before we get into anything here with episode number 3, I got to give it up to you, my man. What you did in episode number 2, the premiere of Toronto Talks Roast, you absolutely unapologetically destroyed the NBA's Washington Wizards. That was gold, my man. We've gotten a lot of great feedback on it. Kudos to you, my man.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And thanks for the feedback, Toronto. Speaking of destroying, the Wizards kind of made me eat my words on Friday night. But hey, we'll get them tonight, I think.
Oh, yeah. Raps in 5, baby. We'll talk more on that. So, Milo, it's Sunday morning. Before we kind of get really into the show, what we want to do here. Now, you had no idea this was coming. This certainly wasn't on your version of the production plan. Are you a big fan of surprises?
I am, always.
Okay, good. So I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh, boy.
Before we get started, just to kind of set the tone for the episode, we're going to play a little word association game. All right?
Boy.
So I'm going to say 10 random words. Now, there's no right or wrong answers, just whatever comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind. You ready?
Okay.
Milo, let's begin.
Let's do it.
Circus.
Clowns.
Cell phone.
Data.
Donovan Bailey.
Johnson. Who's the guy he raced? Johnson. Yeah, Johnson.
Mac and cheese.
Kraft dinner, baby.
Tennis.
Oh, Steffi Graf.
Skydome.
Rogers Center.
Yarmer Yager.
Penguins.
The color purple.
Prince.
Bases loaded.
Video game.
And one.
Count it.
Yeah, baby. All right. Good stuff, man. Word
Not bad.
association.
I like that. You got another 10 for me?
We'll definitely save that for another one, man. Good stuff, buddy. So let's get right to it, Milo. In today's episode, we'll discuss, here's what's on the table, the Toronto Maple Leafs, to give a little playoff update.
Huge win last night.
Absolutely. We'll touch on our hometown Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays. Go Jays, go. They've reached the 20-game mark of the season. After that, we'll do an NBA playoffs update. We'll discuss where things are in the NBA playoffs. And then, our first debate live on Toronto Talk Sports and More, the NBA regular season awards featuring...
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to be on it. I think I got some great picks. I think all my guys are going to come through.
That's right, featuring Milo, our guy Courtz, and visiting guest Mikey Perry. So let's get right to it, Milo. Toronto Maple Leafs. Last night they won 4-3, and they now trail the Boston Bruins 3-2 in their first-round playoff matchup. It was a great showing by the Buds. What were your thoughts on last night's game? And moving forward, what should we expect from them for tomorrow night here in Game 6?
Yeah, just a very exciting game last night, Hez. I know Toronto sports bars and homes were packed watching with excitement. The Leafs, JVR, he scored the game winner to make it 4-1. I know the Bruins got a little bit closer, making it 4-3. Tuukka Rask was chased from the he was chased from the goal. They had to put in their backup. But I think what was the biggest thing for the Leafs is they got off to the 2-0 lead. Huge confidence booster. Momentum was in their favor. And I know they got a 4-1 lead, and Toronto fans were thinking, oh boy, 4-1 lead in Boston. Here we go again, right?
Bringing back some more memories, eh?
Absolutely. But I think the turning point in this game for sure was the Leafs killing off 4 power plays in a row. That
was huge.
Including a 5-on-3. And that was really big. I know Boston made it a little bit closer, but Freddie Anderson was great, needed to step up, and he did. And Nazem Kadri was back as well, and he played well.
Absolutely. So looking forward to Game 6 tomorrow night here at the ACC. What should we expect?
Yeah. Well, I think Leafs fans, they always bring the passion and they always bring the noise when it comes to their games at the ACC. So they're going to have to be in it, bring the energy, bring the electricity in the building. But Freddie Anderson, he's their key, right? I mean, giving up 3 goals yesterday, he still played great. He's got to shine again. And I really do think Austin Matthews needs to step up.
Absolutely. I mean, 1 goal and 1 assist in the first 5 games, 2 points so far in the series. That's not going to get it done.
No, not going to get it.
He needs to step up.
Absolutely. And I think another big key is staying out of the penalty box. Boston, they didn't take advantage of all their power plays yesterday, but they have a great power plays team and lineup, and the Leafs have to stay out of the penalty box.
Got to be disciplined.
Sure.
So definitely looking forward to that. Game 6, and we'll see if the Leafs can even up the series and send things back for a Game 7 in Boston. Blue Jays, what's going on? So the Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays, 20 games now under their belt. They've completed 12% of the season so far.
It's a long one.
I told you guys I had to think with numbers.
Yeah.
So 13-7 record to start things off in the campaign.
Yeah.
Very impressive, especially compared to years past when we haven't gotten off to a very good start at all in the month of April. They're second in runs scored, third in total home runs in the AL. So once again, certainly a much better start to the season than in recent years. What's impressed you the most so far, Milo?
Well, like you said, 20 games into the season and they're 13-7. That start is huge for them. They're second in runs scored, third in home runs in the league, which is great. Curtis Granderson has been a great addition, not only from a speed standpoint, but he can hit for some power for a small guy like him.
Absolutely.
Kevin Pillar, we know what he can do with his glove, but he's been doing a great job at the plate. They've been doing this without Josh Donaldson, right? His arm and his throws have been as dead as Damian Lillard's jump shot in the series, which we'll touch on for sure. But, I think their bullpen has actually been terrific. Danny Barnes, Ryan Tepera, John Axford, and you can't complain about Roberto Osuna as well.
Absolutely. No, what happened yesterday? They got torched by the Yankees yesterday. And one of our favorites, Marcus Stroman, he's really struggled this year. 0-3, particularly with his command. He's never been a guy to really have major issues with his command. I know it's early. Should the Jays be concerned? What's going on with Marcus?
I think it's a little bit early. I think maybe he's out there thinking a little bit too much, right? But, I think Marcus, he's a veteran now. He's, if this was maybe year one or year two for him, you'd be a little bit more concerned. But I think he usually brings it. He turns it up a notch, when the summer time comes around. I think he'll be fine. And the Jays will just keep rolling, right?
He's a huge competitor,
absolutely.
fierce competitor. So
absolutely.
He should get it.
But I think what benefits them also is their bullpen is pitching well, right? So if he can get them 6-7 solid innings, their bullpen can come in and do the job.
Absolutely. Very good. Switching gears now to the NBA playoffs. Let's begin with our hometown Raptors. They're up 2-1 in their first round series against the Wizards. They lost 122-103 to the Wiz on Friday night. The game was fairly close until the second quarter when Washington pretty much took control for good. You got 28 points apiece for John Wall and Bradley Beal. The Raptors turned over the ball a total of 18 times. So that's definitely not going to cut it. Absolutely. So looking forward to game number 4, which goes tonight at 6 p.m. at Capital One Arena in Washington. What do the Raptors need to take a commanding 3-1 series lead heading back home for game number 5 on Wednesday?
Yeah, well, hopefully the Wizards don't listen to my roast again. I think that motivated them a little bit.
Quite possibly.
Too soon maybe for me to roast them. But listen, at the end of the day, I was expecting the Wizards to come out strong in Game 3. I think they really knew what they had to do, and their physicality was huge.
Absolutely.
They got into the Raptors, and tonight I think the Raptors need to bring that physicality. It's got to start. Serge Ibaka, 3 points in game number 3, unacceptable. This guy needs to be up there 15 to 20 points a game. Obviously, their stars need to shine. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry,
which for the most part they've been holding it down.
They've been doing a good job. Don't get me wrong. I think, but if you look at the 2 stars for the Wizards, you touched on it. 56 points combined in Game 3. That's what the Raptors need to do. I think they had 52 combined in Game 2.
Right.
Lowry and DeRozan. So it's going to be those 2 guys, out of those 4 guys, who steps up. Is it the Beal Wall combination or is it the Lowry DeRozan combination? Right. And then it's the others, right? Well, we'll see if Fred VanVleet is going to be available tonight, but I think he's going to be huge off the bench if they can bring him back. And let's see. I mean, I thought, I made fun of their crowd during the roast, but their crowd was into it. Give them credit. Absolutely. The Wizards played great. You got to give credit where credit's due.
And that's just what I was going to touch on in terms of the crowd. I think it's very important, and this, it goes without saying. The Raptors need to get off to a good start right off the bat in the first quarter. Take the crowd out the game. Set the pace, set the tone from early. Go into the second quarter, hopefully with a commanding lead, and then just control the rest of the game from there.
But, I'd like to see from the Raptors a killer instinct. You look at the Warriors the other night, Game 3, they come into San Antonio, obviously very tough conditions for the Spurs, dealing with the Greg Popovich's wife's passing. And they were going to come out and want to win a game for Pop. Certainly. And the Warriors shut it down. The Raptors need to have that killer instinct tonight. Sure, you know what? You gave up Game 3. It was a tough game on the road. But this is a big game for them. Game 4 coming into Washington. Let's have that championship killer instinct. Step on their throats and get a win, whether it be a 1-point win or a 10-point win. Let's just win the game. Come back to the ACC on, Tuesday night, and get a victory.
Well, what I would say, Milo, it would send a message for the most part to the rest of the league that the Raptors are serious and they mean business. You don't want this series going back home tied.
For sure.
And then you're looking at potentially, 6-7 game series. You got to take care of business. You have to win on the road.
Yeah.
A split wouldn't be the worst thing. As I said, they'd go back 3-1 and then have an opportunity to close things off at home.
And I know you're a Lakers guy, so I remember watching those Lakers games back in the days. And, they would go on the road in tough, hostile environments. Sacramento, San Antonio, Houston, and they would win tough games 3 and 4 on the road. That's what I want to see from the Raptors.
If you're a championship caliber team, you have to be able to win on the road, have to be able to take a commanding lead in the series.
I don't care if you have the number 1 seed, you're still going to have to win on the road.
Go Raps, go.
Yes,
so
sir.
The game begins tonight. What time?
6 p.m. Eastern, folks.
All right, let's go Raptors. So switching gears, Milo, the Pelicans last night, the first team in the NBA playoffs to advance to round 2, they swept the Portland Trailblazers. Wow. What are your thoughts there?
Well, Tame Time's definitely going to have some downtime now. I'll tell you this much. Drew Holiday, you have to give that guy a lot of credit. He completely shut down Damian Lillard. Anthony Davis was terrific.
Beast mode, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. Alvin Gentry coached a heck of a series. And Portland just very, very disappointing, coming in as the favorite in this series. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum they didn't show up. And their other guys didn't show up either. And you got to give credit. Rajon Rondo as well played great at the point position. The Pelicans, it's not going to be an easy matchup for the Warriors, but I still like the Warriors. But, at the end of the day, the Pelicans are riding a high right now.
Would you say this puts a stain on Damian Lillard's reputation? I mean, he's always had this reputation the last few years. Being a great player, sometimes he gets an all-star nod, sometimes he doesn't.
Right.
And even he's, publicly said that he's felt, underappreciated or whatnot. He had a great season. He averaged 27 points a game. He shot 44% in the regular season. This round, 18.5 points per game, so under 20, and he shot 35%. Yeah. So what does that say about him, and what does that do to his potential, legacy of standing in the league?
I actually give a lot more credit to the Pelicans defense. I think the way they defended him and getting the ball out of his hands, and Drew Holiday was up and into him and being physical.
Absolutely.
Damian Lillard has shone in the playoffs before. I think you remember that big shot against Houston a few years ago in the playoffs.
Absolutely, that was
the
huge.
Buzzer beater. So I don't think the lights are too bright for Damian. I think that the Pelicans rather did a really, really good job on him. But you're right in a way. I mean, players need to shine in the playoffs.
There's absolutely no excuse whatsoever to be the home team and to get swept the way they got swept, especially the Pelicans without one of their top players, DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, and where was Nurkic in this series? I mean, he barely even showed up.
Absolutely. I mean he played okay yesterday, but through the duration of the series, you're right. He didn't do what he was.
Great job by the Pelicans. Kudos to them.
Absolutely. So looking forward to the series with the Dubs. Do they have a chance?
And no, the Warriors in 5, I think, and I think Curry's coming back sooner than people expect.
So are we already? So basically, we're already predicting the Warriors are going to win that series against the Spurs.
Spurs have absolutely no chance. They're done today.
It's over, clean sweep.
Yeah.
So all right, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Pacers are up 2-1 against the Cavs. So before the last game, LeBron bought all of his teammates matching gray suits. He gifted his teammates. He's done this in the past, actually, if you remember. I think it was in the 2015 finals. He gave them all headphones, Beats by Dre headphones.
Yeah.
He's given out Apple Watches, Samsung Edge headphones. So it's something he's done before in the past, particularly in the playoffs with his teammates, perhaps as, just an incentive, motivation, whatever to get them going. It didn't quite work out. I mean, it was looking good for a second there. They had a 17-point lead at the half.
Right.
And then they lost it. What happened?
Well, I'm certainly glad I didn't pick them to go to the finals. Actually, no, I did.
Let's rewind episode number 1.
No, listen, look, Indiana, give them a lot of credit. They came out in the second half, made the adjustments necessary, and the Cavs just couldn't even make a shot. They were just terrible. LeBron struggled. He turned the ball over a lot in that third quarter as well. Kevin Love was the only other guy that stepped up for them, right? He had 19 points, I believe he finished with. They need help. They need help with the other guys.
Where's Korver been?
Korver's been somewhere on an island. I mean, he's probably on vacation already, right? But I think, obviously Kyle had a major death in his family as well, so that might be bothering him. J.R. Smith, he's just all over the place.
Well, he's streaky. You never know what
Very streaky.
get.
So, the Cavaliers just need to get it together. Obviously, game 4 tonight, huge game. They need to win this game.
Now, nobody really wants to hear about Kyrie Irving right now, but what I would say, from me just observing the Cavs, they're really missing having a viable second option, a playmaker in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really showing. I got to say, I think the Pacers are going to win this in 5. I really don't see how the Cavs win another game. I mean, game number 2, they're very fortunate. LeBron had to go off and pretty much, go crazy. He scored 44 points. And then the last game, they couldn't even hold on to a 17-point lead. I just don't see how they can win another game in this series.
Yeah, and give credit to Lance Stevenson as well. I mean, that guy has just been, in LeBron's ear, literally, not really blowing into it, but, he's been great as well. So it's going to be tough for the Cavs.
Absolutely. So we certainly look forward to that game number 4 going later on today. Yeah. Next series, 76ers and Heat. So the 76ers took a 3-1 series lead on Miami, winning last night convincingly. What are your thoughts on that series?
Trust the phantom of the process, I guess, right? Joel Embiid makes his return with the mask, and he was terrific. Look, I was one of the people that said the Sixers are too young. I thought they were going to get bounced in this series, but now they take a 3-1 lead, winning 2 games in Miami. Very, very impressive. Kevin Hart has bragging rights right now over Mr. Gabrielle Union, Dwayne Wade there.
Pretty much.
But, give the Sixers credit. Ben Simmons been playing great. They got great contributions from J.J. Redick. Marco Bellinelli, Ersan Ilyasova, these guys are all stepping up and providing some leadership for that young Sixers team.
I just think the Heat don't have enough scoring just from an offensive standpoint. And where's Hassan Whiteside been? I mean, all I've heard from him is just crying, complaining, against his coach and how he's being used and this and that. I don't know what the future is like for him.
You'll hear a little bit more about him on our debate segment. Believe me.
We'll look forward to that. Yeah. But they're not looking very good right now. No. And in all likelihood, it looks like the 76ers will wrap it up in 5.
Yeah, they're going to play either Milwaukee or Boston, so that's a favorable matchup, I think.
Should be interesting. Who do you like in the Bucks series? I believe they play today, actually. Yeah, they do play today.
Yeah, that's an I think I see that series going 7. I think Milwaukee should win that series. Like I've said, I think they're the better team. Yeah, absolutely. Blew out the Celtics there, and I just think that they'll tie the series up today. Eric Bledsoe, him and Terry Rozier going back and forth, but I like the Bucks in this series in 7. I think they win today.
Right. So generally speaking, how's the playoffs kind of just shaped up for you?
It's been pretty exciting. I mean, this is what we want. We want to see competitive games. We want to see close games, thrilling series. Obviously, the Pelicans Blazers when it was a sweep. It looks like the Warriors are going to sweep the Spurs. But other than that, we've got some competitive series going on, which is nice to see.
All right, NBA basketball. So look out, 4 games on the slate. Hopefully the Raptors, as we said, once again, could take a commanding 3-1 series lead. Go Raps, go. NBA basketball, Toronto Talk Sports.
All right, guys, it's time for our first debate. As mentioned, we're going to be discussing the NBA regular season awards. I'd like to welcome our special guest, Mikey, for joining us today to give us his picks. It's always nice to have another Pats fan in the building, so I can rub in the fact that my Eagles destroyed you in the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback.
Guys, our audience doesn't want to hear about the Pats or the Eagles. It's all about the Steelers.
But guys, let's stay focused here. Let's talk about NBA awards. Yes, so for the first award, let's get into it. The Coach of the Year. So Milo, Coach of the Year. Who's your pick?
I probably mentioned this guy like at least 4 or 5 times on the show already in previous episodes, but I'm going to go with Utah Jazz, Quinn Snyder. Regular season record of 48-34. Lost Gordon Hayward, lost Joe Johnson. Rudy Gobert was injured for a lot of the season. Amazing job in the Western Conference to get the 5th seed, and a great job of drafting Donovan Mitchell, even though it wasn't him directly, it was management. But the way he's pieced that team together, they start with defense, right? And our guy Joe Ingles, able to knock down the threes. Ricky Rubio, great addition. I think Quinn Snyder's done a fantastic job. I think he should win it this year. I know Raptor fans are not going to be happy with me, but I would go with Quinn Snyder.
Personally, I don't like his face, so he doesn't get my vote. But Mikey,
he's got the whole Superman look going,
Coach of the Year. Who's your pick?
You got to go with Dwayne Casey. How can you not? Come on. The Raptors have won the Eastern Conference. Dwayne Casey has improved this Raptors team year after year since he's been the head coach. Look at the improvement of the Raptors. The defense, they're top 5 offense and defense this year.
But Mikey, he hasn't lost any of his players, right? I mean, you're sticking with Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, you're making additions. When it comes to Quinn Snyder, he lost two of his best players, right? So that's why I would say Quinn over Dwayne.
Losing players and changing the system, kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big KC fan as well, but I just think in this instance, it should be Quinn Snyder.
But I think when you get to the top from where he started,
very impressive.
You got to give him, he's got to be looked at.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And guys, Dwayne Casey has been doing a phenomenal job as a head coach for the Raptors over the past 6-7 years. You know, he's been setting franchise record for wins, seems like every single year.
Right.
But I'll tell you one thing, if there was an award for Defensive Coach of the Year, I would definitely give that to Dwayne Casey. Do you ever see this guy on the sidelines, hands up, bending his knees?
Yeah.
He plays better defense than James Harden. But guys, Coach of the Year this year, my pick is Brad Stevens from Boston.
Wow.
We all remember game 1 of the opening season when Gordon Hayward went down with that gruesome injury. Everybody gave up on the C's. Then what did they do? They only went on to win 16 straight games at the beginning of the season. And as we know, the injuries didn't stop there. Marcus Smart went down. Jaylen Brown. Horford went down for a few games.
That's a good point, yeah.
Then, of course, near the end of the season, a huge loss losing Kyrie Irving for the rest of the season and for the playoffs. What Brad Stevens has done with this young team throughout all this adversity and still being able to finish second in the East, absolutely incredible. And also, what I love about Stevens is his style. Mister, I don't need to wear a tie. He's just all casual. I guarantee, guys, one day we're going to see him pull a J.R. Smith. He's going to show up to the game with no shirt on. Brad Stevens, Coach of the Year.
At least my guy Quinn Snyder's got the whole Superman look, right? I mean, he's got the hair flowing and things like that. But that's, Brad Stevens had a great year as well. Dwayne Casey also. But guys, come on. It's all about Quinn.
All right, guys, let's move on to Sixth Man of the Year award. Mikey, let's start with you. Who's your pick for Sixth Man of the Year?
Sticking with Toronto, got to go with Fred VanVleet. He's done it all. He's
Steady Freddy.
Steady Freddy. He's been the energy battery for the second unit. You got to look at what he brings to the table game in and game out. He hasn't missed a lot of games in the regular season. He's come
so
in.
much energy.
Yep. He has a good average. He puts up points. He plays good minutes, long minutes. He's in there in the fourth quarter with DeMar and sometimes Kyle. But it's got to be him.
Yeah, I definitely have to give Freddie VanVleet, his props, and he has done a fantastic job for our hometown Raptors. But come on, Mikey, sweet Lou Williams, hands down, is the Sixth Man of the Year. In my opinion, this guy is the number one option for the team. He should have made the All-Star team.
Yeah.
He led the Clippers in points off the bench. He is the most valuable player and the best leader for the Clippers. Name me another bench player in the NBA who is arguably the best player on their team.
See, when you're the best player on the team, you got to be a starter. He should be a starter on the Los Angeles Clippers.
The energy he has off the bench,
absolutely
though,
suck.
I mean, the Clippers, they do suck, but the energy that he brings off the bench is phenomenal. And in the words of Doc Rivers, well, we had to get rid of Blake Griffin. He just wasn't cutting it here for us. Lou Williams really stepped his game up. He needs to be selected for Sixth Man of the Year. Lou Williams is the Sixth Man of the Year. Come on.
He's your starting point guard.
It's a nice impression, Courtz.
Milo,
sounded more like Phillip Rivers, actually.
Milo, who's your pick for Sixth Man of the Year?
I hate to say this, Courtz, but I actually agree with you. That's going to be the first and only time, hopefully.
Yes.
But I got to say, sweet two-girlfriend having Lou Williams. The guy has he's in a relationship with two girls, and they both know about each other. That's fantastic. That alone should give him the Sixth Man of the Year. But, the guy averaged just under 23 points a game coming off the bench.
Amazing.
5 assists a game, 88% from the free throw line. In my opinion, I agree, Courtz. He should have been an all-star. Just incredible year. He reminds me a lot of Jamal Crawford. I think those two guys are similar.
Yep.
And they could go back and forth with Sixth Man of the Year, as well as Manu Ginobili. He's always had been a great six-man asset for San Antonio. And I also think Lou plays a lot better defense than what people give him credit for, right? They always knock him on his defense. Thin guy, skinny build, but I think he really gives a lot of effort out there. So, sorry, Mikey, you're wrong on this one.
Definitely.
I love me from some Fred VanVleet, don't get me wrong. But
Definitely. You got to love our hometown Freddie. Yeah. Guys, moving on to Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm going to get this started. The Defensive Player of the Year this year, guys, Rudy Gobert. I think the only thing that might potentially swing some voters is the fact that he missed more than a quarter of the season. But when
I was going to say because he's French. Too soon for that one?
But guys, when he's on the floor, is there any better defender in the league?
You know what? There is. Actually, I would have to go with Anthony Davis, the unibrow himself. Look, he led the league in total block shots, and this guy, power forward and a center, was top 25 in steals. Top 25 in steals. That is unbelievable. Really turned it up when Boogie Cousins got hurt. Also averaged just over 11 rebounds per game. And he played 75 games. This is a guy that's, injury prone, right? So I would go with Anthony Davis, he's been able to do for the New Orleans Pelicans, get them in the position that they are. I would say, he's my pick for Defensive Player of the Year.
But one thing, just going back on Rudy Gobert, number 2 in the league in blocks, number 1 in points allowed.
How many games did he play, Courtz?
55, 56.
Exactly.
Not enough.
I don't think that should matter, though. I mean, the fact that from what the Utah Jazz did from January 19th when he returned,
Yeah.
I think they were in 10th place. They finished almost in 3rd place. They almost won their division.
Right.
The impact that Rudy Gobert has when he was on the floor defensively really shook that team up and really got them to where they are.
He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Mikey, who's your pick for Defensive Player of the Year?
The response, you guys pick center. See, the responsibility of the center is to defend the rim, rebound, block shots.
Yep.
But
Right.
the evolution of this game has changed so much, and it's all about the perimeter players. You got to go with Paul George.
Wow.
This guy gets his steals. He guards the number 1 player on every team game in and game out. I believe he only missed 3 or 5 games this year.
Yeah.
He comes in and he does his job, and he's gotten the Oklahoma City Thunder on a good playoff run.
He's been great this year.
Another thing you got to mention is all 3 of those guys have their teams in the playoffs, right?
Definitely.
So, I mean, I think one of those 3 will win it, but let's go with my pick, Anthony Davis.
All right, guys. Here's one that is really going to shake things up here. Rookie of the Year. Now, Milo, who's your pick for Rookie of the Year?
Guys, I'm going to go with Donovan. Don't call me Sam Mitchell. And it's not even close, boys. Listen, I'm going to hear this about Ben Simmons, and he's from Australia, blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, Ben Simmons should not even be eligible for this award, as he was drafted 2 years ago and spent time around the NBA guys, the locker rooms, etc. Mikey, I know you're shaking your head and rolling your eyes, but come on. Rookie of the Year. Didn't Donovan Mitchell wear that sweater the other day that defined a rookie? Mitchell came
what did that sweater say, Milo? If you recall?
I'm not going to say it quote for quote, but it said something about. It was the definition of a rookie.
I'll tell you here what it said.
Okay,
it says rookie, an athlete playing his or her first season as a member of a professional sports team. That's exactly what Ben Simmons did. He played his first season this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's not my beef with him. My beef is that he was around the guys. He was around the NBA locker rooms. He was hanging with, all his teammates and this and that, being on the road with them. He understood the grind of the NBA. It's different than playing. I get that. But Donovan Mitchell's had a sensational year. 20 and a half points per game, played in 79 games. Let's forget, he stole the show at the dunk contest, right? The All-Star weekend. Even though that doesn't really have to do anything with Rookie of the Year. He's got a jump shot while Simmons apparently left his in Australia. Simmons, let's not forget, Simmons also has a very gifted big man to play with while Mitchell is the lone star of that Jazz team.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say Rudy Gobert is on the same level as Joel Embiid, right? So let's not forget that. Ben Simmons has somebody there with him. Donovan's done it by himself. Let's go with Donovan Mitchell, guys.
So before I even get to my pick, let me just define what the NBA defines as a rookie. In the National Basketball Association, a rookie is any player who has never played a game in the NBA until that year. This year was the first year that Ben Simmons played a game. And yes, you alluded to that sweater that Donovan Mitchell wore. In my opinion, what he did by bringing up that sweater, wearing that sweater, he's pretty much saying, okay, guys, Ben Simmons, he's better than me, but this guy shouldn't be considered a rookie. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
So if I had to ask you a question, Milo, who's a better player, Ben Simmons or Donovan Mitchell?
I would say all around, I think Ben Simmons is probably the better player and will be the better player moving forward. But I think in the rookie campaign, I'd have to go with Donovan Mitchell. He really took his game to another level. And again, I'm going to make the argument that Ben Simmons had a better team around him, and it made it a lot easier for him. And having that 1 year under his belt, traveling with the team, being around the guys is definitely going to help. Donovan Mitchell came out of college, stunned everybody with his play. Nobody really talked about him coming out of college. I've got to go with Donovan on this one.
Well, let me give you some stats for Ben Simmons. And by the way, Ben Simmons is my pick for Rookie of the Year. Third in points. Third in points among rookies. Fifth in field goal percentage. First in rebounds. First in assists. First in steals. Fourth in block shots. First in double doubles. First in triple doubles. This guy's all over the place.
How many threes did he make this year?
0.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you this. Give Ben Simmons a jump shot. This guy is arguably the next LeBron James.
Wow, that's a big statement right there.
That's all he's missing. He's an all-around player. If you give him a jump shot as a part of his game, he is going to take this league by surprise.
Oh, I forgot Mikey was here. Mikey, you could go ahead with your
Who's
pick.
your pick, Mikey?
Well, Courtney, I think you said it all. That it's Ben Simmons.
Oh, goodness.
He is the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
He's playing his first season. Donovan Mitchell, he's nice, but he's not the complete player.
As
that
Jay-Z
Ben
would say,
Simmons
he's all right, but he's not real. All right.
They're both real
Tough
players.
crowd.
He is not a. They are both real players. He's not a scrub. Okay, he could play. They could both play, but Ben Simmons just has it all, and it's got to go to him.
And to get back to your point, Milo, the fact that he missed his first year. I mean, I didn't really want to get into this and use precedents, but Blake Griffin in 2011.
Oh, we'll get to Blake after.
Blake won the Rookie of the Year in 2011 after missing the entire 09-10 season. I mean, but
It's unfair.
It doesn't matter if it's unfair. That's the rule of the NBA. You play your first season. That's what you're considered a rookie.
I'll have a chat with Adam Silver about that.
Ben Simmons is the best rookie in the NBA.
I'll leave you guys with 1 point, and I'll leave you with 1 point. Ben Simmons, very arrogant as well. I think that attitude of his, I think he needs a little bit of an attitude adjustment. He hasn't really given any credit to any of the other rookies. He thinks that he should win the award hands down. I think he needs to change that.
I agree. He does not have a good personality, but it doesn't stop the fact that he's the best rookie in the basketball.
Okay.
Most valuable player, guys. Mikey, who's your pick for most valuable player?
It's a walk in the park. It's James Harden, hands down. Everybody says LeBron James should be MVP every year because he's the greatest player in the world, blah, blah, blah. But James Harden, what he has done this year is unbelievable. Even last year when they gave it to Russell Westbrook, just because Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double, and he did it again this year, which is incredible. Don't get me wrong. But what James Harden is doing in Houston, he has it all.
It's phenomenal what he's doing.
Yeah.
Milo, who's your pick for MVP?
James Harden. Enough said. Look, guys, number 1 seed overall. The guy was just amazing. I know they added Chris Paul, and they got all of those 3-point shooters around him. But I mean, really and truly, if you look at most valuable player by definition, I would probably go with LeBron James. He's probably the most valuable player. But if you're gonna go with MVP, really means best player in that year, I'm gonna say James Harden.
And guys, I fully agree with you. The fact that, James Harden, he had the best season this year. And to your point, Milo, was he the most valuable player? No. And that's why, I'm going to go and say that I think that LeBron James should be the most valuable player in the league.
Yeah.
Take a look at this, guys. If you take James Harden away from the Houston lineup, they still have a pretty solid team. In my opinion, they're probably going to still win, maybe 40 games. They're going to squeak into the playoffs maybe as a 7-8 seed.
Right.
What happens if we take LeBron James out of the Cavs lineup?
16 wins.
10. I say 10 wins, maybe 16 at max. At best, I think the Cavaliers are a subpar G League team without the King. The value that LeBron James adds to the Cleveland Cavaliers is that he brings a G League caliber team up to a potential NBA championship team. Hez mentioned last week that, in his 15th season, he's arguably having the greatest year of his career. Like wine, he gets better with age. So although James Harden had, without a doubt, the best offensive performing season of the year, LeBron James was the most valuable player in the association. And guys, think about this. What I think the NBA needs to do is create another award. One award for the best offensive player, which definitely James Harden would win hands down.
I'm falling asleep here, Courtz. Listen to me. Its most valuable player is the best player, James Harden.
I agree. He's the best player.
Yeah.
And there needs to be 2 awards is what I'm saying. One offensive player of the year, which definitely would go to James Harden. But the most valuable player this year in the NBA is by without a doubt LeBron James.
Who has a better beard? Harden or LeBron?
Next question. Well, guys, that wraps it up for those awards. And we have a couple other fun awards which we've put together. 3 awards are going to be overrated, underrated, and biggest crybaby of the award. So, Milo, let's start with you. Who's your picks for all 3?
Yeah, most overrated, guys. There was a few, handful that I was debating between. I'm going to go with Hassan Whiteside of the Miami Heat. At the end of the day, I look at Whiteside and many people around the league like him and his potential. But every time I watch him, it's like he's not giving maximum effort on the court. There's so much potential there. I think he had a really good season 2 years ago. I think when the Raptors beat them in the playoffs, and he kind of broke onto the scene. But I feel his effort and his injuries have kind of derailed him. He also made some comments toward the end of the season about not playing in the fourth quarter. So, just his overall attitude isn't a good look either. I just really wasn't impressed with him this past season. He's had some internal issues with Eric Spoelstra. And he hasn't gotten to that position where I wanted to see him. So I would say Hassan Whiteside. In terms of most underrated player, I'm going to go give you guys a name here. Gary Harris. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Yeah, he plays out in Denver. Not a lot of people have heard of him. But I have to say Gary Harris is one of the best kept secrets in the NBA. Averaged a career high 17.5 points a game this season, and he averaged 12.3 for his career. Played in 67 games this year, and he suffered a tough knee injury. But I think the thing about them is, they just missed the playoffs by 1 game.
Yep.
And the thing about Gary Harris is he plays in Denver. They don't get a lot of attention.
Exactly.
So he's a guy that I would say that's most underrated, and I think we should pay attention to him the most. Let's have a little bit of fun now. The
Biggest crybaby.
Biggest crybaby in the league. I touched on it last week. I think Hez would probably remember this as well. I'm going to go with Blake Griffin, a.k.a. Mr. Kendall Jenner. Guys, I touched on this last week. It just seems like every time I'm watching a Clippers game and now a Pistons game, Blake Griffin is talking to the referees about a whistle. It's nonstop. And I don't know if he got this from Doc Rivers, your boy, Courtz.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, he's the biggest whiner when it comes to coaches. But it's downright pathetic, Blake. Like, come on. First of all, Griffin isn't even in the conversation as a top 10 power forward in the league right now. So not sure what he's doing with all the complaining to the officials. Just leave it alone. Play some basketball. Go out in LA, hang out with your girlfriend if you want. I don't really care. just stop with the crybaby.
Thanks for your picks. Mikey, on to you.
Overrated. I got to go with Isaiah Thomas.
Wow.
I got to go with Isaiah Thomas. I mean, look, he did his thing in Boston. He was the best player on that team. But when he got to Cleveland, after the injury, he kind of got exposed a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, he was compromised by his hip injury. We all know he wasn't 100%, so they say. But when he isn't the best player on the team, he gets exposed.
Right.
As being a miniature guard in the league, his size compromises his game.
Yep.
And overrated, but the guy can't even see over a damn barrier.
And then you go to LA, you're complaining, I'm not coming off the bench.
Right. I think he actually agreed, right, that he would come off the bench if...
Eventually he did,
Yeah.
Yeah, because Magic isn't having any of that.
No, exactly.
So it's got to be Isaiah Thomas.
Nice. That's a good pick.
Underrated?
Most underrated. I know he's not doing well in the playoffs right now, but it is. I got to go with my guy, Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Fourth Quarter. He's Mr. It's Dame time.
Dame time, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Dame time, okay? As a point guard in the West, think about it. You got James Harden, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. Back in the day, you could say Tony Parker when he was an All-Star. So you're not going to really put him in that caliber of a player.
Right.
People, they always looked at him as, a Rubio, Tim Conley, and that second class, that B class point guard. But when you really think about it, he is that good.
Yeah,
He
I
is
agree.
that good.
Yeah, he is.
I actually think he opened a lot of eyes this season. I think this year he had wasn't the greatest team that he was on, but he led them to the third seed?
Third seed.
Yeah, third seed. So you got to give him
And
credit.
finally becoming an All-Star.
Sure. Yeah.
As well deserved.
Absolutely.
And, he plays in Portland, which isn't the sexiest city.
Yeah, those West Coast teams that don't get a lot of attention, right? So
Who's your pick for biggest crybaby there, Mike?
I had a few, but I'm going to go with DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh, Boogie Cousins.
I got to go with Boogie. it's getting ridiculous. 115 technical fouls in 8 seasons in the league. He's never had a season with less than 10. And this year, he only played in 48 games, got injured, and he had 9.
Wow.
And got ejected twice.
Unbelievable.
So he was on pace for 18 ejections.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So I had to go with him.
More angry than Harvey Weinstein right now.
Guys, quickly to my picks. Overrated players, Carmelo Anthony. I mean, let's just face it, Melo is trash. I mean,
He's not trash. He's not trash.
Melo is not a good basketball player. I think that there's too much hype about Melo. The big three, but truly that team is led by Russell Westbrook and Paul George. Hoodie Melo, that's a different story. I think Hoodie Melo is a great player, but Carmelo Anthony, I just think he's just too overrated.
I think this is a good role for him, right? He's not really the leader of a team anymore. Yep. Maybe in Denver back in the days, early on with the Knicks, but I think this is a good fit for him in OKC.
Definitely. Underrated players, I'm going to go with True Holiday. I think especially what has happened in the first couple of games in the playoffs, guys, with New Orleans. Nobody talks about this guy, and the numbers that he's putting up is just absolutely amazing.
Stole the show?
No.
I mean, the sky's the limit with this guy, and the sky's the limit with this team. Imagine if they had a healthy Boogie Cousins right now, how far these guys could potentially go. But I'm really liking to seeing what he's doing, and
How many texts did they have?
That's another good question. I believe it's 0. But crybaby of the year, come on, guys, LeWine James. This guy cries all the time. Every time, wind blows on him, he's crying to the referees. LeBron, you're the best player in the NBA. You don't need to cry after everybody touches you. Let's get on with it, LeBron. You're the best player. Stop fussing. Let's move on with it. Well, guys, thanks again for your input. This has been a really engaging session. It's going to be exciting to see who actually wins these awards.
Which will be me.
Mikey, thanks for joining us here in studio. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mikey.
you, fellas. Thank you.
Toronto Talk Sports and more.
Great debate, guys. Good stuff. That was good. So allow me to quickly share my award picks. Coach of the Year, I got Brad Stevens. Sixth Man, Sweet Lou Williams. Defensive Player, Anthony Davis. Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons. And MVP, James Harden. So the NBA regular season awards show is Monday, June 25th, 2018. We certainly look forward to that. We'll see who's got bragging rights come then. So another great show, guys. And wow, to our audience, thank you very much for listening, and thanks for all your support. We're just getting started. Please be encouraged to send us your feedback. Let us know what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of. Any great creative ideas you have for the show, we want to hear it. So send us your feedback at info@torontotalksports.com. We'll be back with episode number 4 this Thursday, April 26th. So stay tuned and check us out. Toronto Talk Sports and more. For the love of the Six, let's connect.
Thank you for tuning into Toronto Talk Sports and more. Please subscribe to our podcast via Apple iTunes or Google Play Store. And stay tuned for new episodes, prizes, and surprises at torontotalksports.com.